Well, this is the first Stramalio Consulting podcast, and I'm pretty darn excited about it. And we are very fortunate to have Jennie Fisher join us. I believe her official title is Senior VP, General Manager of the Office Equipment Group for Great America Financial Services. Jennie, thank you very much for taking time today to join us.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for letting me be the pioneer for this.
Yeah, so if I make some mistakes, please just ignore them and we'll work some editorial magic with Grant. So thank you very much, appreciate it. And I have to ask the first question, and I'm going to ask all our guests this, so anybody who comes on later, do you have a favorite Frank Sinatra song?
Well, I do have a favorite song. I have a lot of favorite Frank Sinatra songs, right? It's incredible what the man did. He was a genius when it came to producing and quite a legend. But I would say my favorite song is The Way You Look Tonight, which is a beautiful ballroom song in my mind.
I love that song too. And the other one that I really like too is obviously My Way, which is the theme song, I think, for Frank Sinatra, the national anthem, right? But I think there are a couple of others. The Witchcraft it comes to my mind. I love that song. And That's Life. So we kind of named this podcast a little bit after That's Life. You know, you got Next Week's Life. You know, I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, and all of that. So based on the last couple of years, you know, when you've been up and down, you get back up. And I think we're in a pretty good place right now, coming maybe into the second half of 22. Would you agree with that? You know,
I would agree.
so share, if you will, with the audience a little bit more about your expectation. You came into 2022 with the Executive Connection Summit. Your great support for that. So are we on a pace to continue towards bigger success than you might have hoped for, or the right pace?
Well, coming off of last month, I would say yes, right? But it's still very unknown at this time. We thought we would enter. We just started our FY23, so our fiscal year 23. But coming in as we started planning, we had really high expectations for an incredible year of exiting the pandemic, right, and emerging strong with new solutions for our customers. Unfortunately, we all know it's kind of ebbed and flows with the challenges of the supply chain, and it's very unpredictable right now. Our month to month production is so unpredictable. Coming into the last quarter of the calendar last year, we had to pivot and take a relook as we started to forecast for FY23 and pull back a little bit, knowing that the supply chain challenges were going to continue on through the calendar year and into FY23, right? And then we had a bang of a month in March, which was like, wow, it felt like things were back to normal. It was one of those good old fashioned month ends again. However, the trends over the past 6 months have told me, right, the next 2 months are going to ebb and flow and be a little more challenging yet. So we'll continue to work through this in the next year as we continue to stay focused on a strong emergence as well.
So when you continue to look at the business, you know, in its entirety, and you mentioned it very quickly, I was going to come back to you on it, but so you're a little bit more conservative, mostly because of the supply chain issues. Is that safe to say?
Most, I would say, all because of the supply chain issues.
Are you seeing any kind of window opening for additional products, or is it going to be the same conservative nature for you?
Oh, no, we absolutely see the opportunity for additional products. And when I talk about, in the meanwhile, dealing with the short-term challenges around the supply chain, right? We're constantly thinking about what does this look like when we can say the pandemic is officially over, and what are we doing to help our dealers continue to evolve? And so that's really looking at a strong look at evolving our new business lines, right? And the primary focus today really is just managed IT services, software, right? Services in general. When you think about marketing as a service, IT as a service, thinking about what that looks like to finance those products. I mean, Great America is a small ticket finance company focused on asset earnings, right? I mean, we're an asset-based company. And so when you think about where this world is going with the hosted software and services, you're getting into the non-asset area, which is not new for us by any means. I mean, we've done a lot of that in our communications and technology group, and we've done a good amount of it in the office equipment division, but really gearing up to gain a greater comfort level um, in understanding how far we can take that and what we can do to help our dealers move down that path.
So I'd like to back up a little bit. Like to know a little bit more about Jennie Fisher, and then I want to come back into
Right.
2022 and the supply chain and so on. But I know you and I have known each other, I don't even know how long at this point. Do you actually remember the first time we met? It had to be like 10, 15, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, probably 12 years ago.
12 years ago. And I noticed, you learn a lot when you go to LinkedIn. You've been with Great America Financial Services now for 29 years, if I read that right on your LinkedIn profile. And you spent pretty much I guess, your entire career with Great America. And I'm kind of curious. You came out of, you were born and raised in Iowa, right?
That is correct, yes.
So you were an Iowa girl. You stayed in Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. You were educated in Iowa, and then you went right to Great America.
Well, I worked for a while before I came to Great America. I would like to say I went right to Great America from college. I love you for throwing that out there, but
Well, you know what? I'm going to stay away from that. But you've been an unbelievable executive leader. Gavin is laughing. I can see it. But um, I probably would say that 30 years in this industry has done you well, and you've done it well. So when you came into Great America, how big was Great America?
well, we were just getting started, right? So I was the third employee to join Great America.
Wow. And
It's been
so humble beginnings in Great America, if you can say, is how big today?
today we're right around 640 employees.
Wow.
So it's been an incredible ride to be able to experience that and be a part of it over the past 30 years.
So again, I know I'm a little biased, but you've made a major contribution to taking them from 0 to 600 employees, and you're number 3. So kudos to you. We've made a huge contribution. And again, to go back to that, you've seen the ebb and flow, ups and downs, and you know, economic crises, and probably anything that could have happened in 30 years or 29 years. Is this like the most challenging time, do you think, for Great America and or the industry?
Well, first of all, I'll say that I haven't seen pretty much anything that could happen, right? Because when the pandemic hit, none of us had experienced anything like that before.
Yeah.
But I have been through some challenging times. When you think about the dot-com bubble burst, you think about the Great Recession, right? This was just very different. And I would say that it was more challenging from the mere fact that it was happening all over the country and the whole country shut down, right?
Yeah.
And so just the drastic turn that we took, um, adding to the fact, right, I think it's pretty well known, everybody's in the same situation we are, but through 28 years of our life, we never went back in a year. We experienced continuous growth every year until the
Wow.
pandemic hit. And so that was quite a gut punch for us, because we like to win at Great America, right? And success is very important as we continue to grow and provide opportunities for people. And so that was something we had not experienced before.
So, yeah, and you're 100% right. I mean, that hit all of us across the country, across the world, pretty much in ways that we never imagined. Are you, again, going back into, we started with ECS, we were pretty conservative. I remember you and I talking about should we, shouldn't we, who's going to come, who's not going to come. Were you surprised at the commitment from the community to come? And is it continuing? Is that attitude that they showed there continuing?
I wasn't surprised in one respect because, right, people were looking forward to getting together, even though the world was opening up and more of our peers and our customers were traveling, right, and embracing us to come into their offices. people were still looking to get together. There was a number that hadn't been out there much. I was surprised at the number of people I talked to at ECS that this was their first travel in almost 2 years, right? And so that part of it was really fun, and I expected a lot of interest and a good turnout. What I was a little bit surprised at was just we had an uptick in the COVID cases, and just you and I, right, on a weekly basis, and then every other day, what are we going to do here, right? It feels like the country's going to shut down again. People are asking us, "Are you still going to have this event?" And so that's where that a little bit of reservation came in.
Yeah, well, again, without you in Great America, it never would have happened. So we thank you publicly, and the whole world should know it. So if when you look at the industry, and I've been around forever, so probably Gavin would say too long, but you look at the industry. Who in this industry provided you with the greatest mentorship, or who are your role models? And you've seen them through the years, and you've seen them all. So who does Jennie Fisher look up to and say, yeah, those people, they're the ones?
There's a number of people that I look up to, right? I've been very, very fortunate to have so many people care about me as a person, personally and professionally, and want to help me be better, go places, right? But if you have to pick the number one person, right, I'm going to pick Tony Golovich, who's the founder and CEO of Great America. I've been with Tony through this whole time, and just the mere fact of I started working with him at GE Capital before we came to Great America, and so that's one of the reasons I came to Great America. I'd been with Tony for a couple of years, and had come to just greatly respect the business person, the individual that he was, the family man that he was, and probably would have done anything I was asked to do to try to help him succeed, right? And he saw that in me and asked me to join him at Great America, and he took an interest in me. He Not to say I'm not a confident person, but back in that time I probably just needed a little bit more of that to say have somebody say, "You know what? You can do whatever you want to do. You just have to go after it and do it." And he was an encouragement to me, and he supported me, right, both personally and professionally. He cared about my family, which is a huge, as you can imagine, right? Being
Yeah,
a parents
yeah.
and both parents in the working world and trying to balance that home life.
Well, from his presentation, his closing speech, if you will, at ECS, I think he won over a lot of friends just like you. His story is rich. It's the American dream, and man, it comes from the heart, and you feel it. So that's a good pick. So, okay, let's talk about some embarrassing moments. So, Jennie, in your work world, you get to visit with a lot of people. So, what comes to your mind when I say, okay, what was like one of your most, embarrassing moments you can share that was funny? That's funny. Do you have one?
Oh, I have a lot of embarrassing moments. I just don't know which one I want to share right now,
Long list. I doubt it.
right?
By the way, I doubt it. But does one come to mind?
There is not one pivotal one that comes to mind, honestly.
All right, so let's shift gears out of that into your favorite and most proud experience, or one of them in the industry in the last few years.
Okay, we'll go on to the most proud experience. Did you say the last 15 years or the
Last few years.
last few years?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and I'm going to continue to think about that most embarrassing moment because there's a lot of funny ones out there, right? It's just how much you want to get out there. I would say, one of the proudest moments in the last few years was really just being a part of Great America. In spite of um, in spite of what's happened in the past 2 years with the pandemic and everything that we've been challenged with, it was a full realization that it's time to take this organization to the next level, right?
Hmm.
When you think about the technological evolution, you think about the young people coming into the marketplace, and thinking about how we're going to attract those young people to join Great America, right? And what we need to do internally and externally to do that. You think about our customers continuing to evolve and everything coming to a head, just a really strong focus in the past few years, taking a step back to say, what do we want to be when we grow up? Because we don't think of ourselves as a 30-year-old company. You can ask Tony this, he'll tell you every day. We're still a young teenager. We have a lot of years to grow yet, right? And we're still learning and we're still growing. But we came to a point where we had to take a step back and say, okay, what is it going to take for us to continue to evolve and remain relevant with our customers? And so that part of it has been exciting. It's also been a little stressful, I'm not going to lie there, right?
Well, change and move forward progress, you're going to have anxiety going backward and forward, so you might as well have it forward, right? I
Right.
mean, it's just the nature of life. But when you look at, and that's a great, honestly, I really love that comment about moving forward and you're still a teenager. You know, there are a lot of people, I think you would agree with me, I hope you would agree with me. There are some people in the industry who continue to be negative about the industry or less than optimistic is probably the best way to say it. Me personally, I'm bullish on the industry. So I'm kind of curious, coming into 2022, we saw some pretty positive and powerful movement with product and companies. Are you bullish? Is your optimism reasonable and on the positive end? If you're looking 0 to 10, are you an 8 or a 7 or where are you?
I would say I'm an 8.5, which I think is pretty high, right? There's still a few things that I have questions around, but I'm very optimistic.
Were you curious? I found Josh Lane and ACDI guys talking about EV. That one was like a knock on the head for me. Where did that come from? But I loved it, and I'm wondering how you see that kind of thing.
See, that kind of thing to me is a lot of fun, right? Because that's kind of even way outside the box. You think about that. I know some dealers that are doing electric brokering, several that I've talked to, and trying to understand what that looks like. And is there any way that we can help them there? But for me, that's way outside the box of what even the path that we're typically taking. And that gets me excited because what that does is it creates not challenges, right, but opportunities for Great America to get further outside our box and say, okay, how can we help these guys, right? How can we? They're taking this product to the market to our customers. How can we help our customers implement that into their organizations successfully, right? And what way can we bring value to them by way of some sort of financing arrangement, invoicing arrangement, what have you? Maybe it's creating a marketing strategy or a strategic plan around it.
Well, I love what Josh did. I mean, it came out of the blue, and it was a ooh-ha moment. Like, what? Oh, okay, and it made sense, right? It was fun. It was fun. It's exciting. You know, this week, Gavin and I, we were over at the TAG meeting along the similar lines of Josh, but
Oh,
we found some interesting things. But at the TAG meeting, a couple things kind of jumped out at me besides product. The consistent beating of the drum about how difficult it is to find good people today. And I mean, it was a stream of thought and discussion throughout the few days. Do you agree with that? And how are you dealing with that and trying to help your forward progress as you grow? You got to have great people. Where are you finding them, and how are you getting them trained and all of that?
yeah, I do agree with that. That has been a challenge. I feel like our funnel is filling up a little bit better today than it has in the past 12 months since we started hiring again. We didn't lay anybody off at Great America, but we did halt on the hiring side right as we got through that first part of the pandemic. Um, and so Great America uses multiple resources to prospect and source new talent coming into the organization. I would say, though, a couple of areas that I'm really high on in what we do. First of all, it's the employee referral part, because we've found that um, people that come to us, team members that come to us that are referred by current employees, stay the longest with Great America. And so now we've got to figure out how to do more of that, because I think, especially when you look at the challenges over the past 2 years, we're so busy running the day to day, trying to figure out what we're doing in the short term, while we're trying to stay focused on the long term. We've kind of taken our eye off the ball, if you will, in recruiting ourselves, right? And we can't just rely on our HR department to do that. It has to be every employee at Great America has to be responsible for that to bring good candidates in. And so, really, just reinvigorating that um, in the past 6 months, encouraging our people to get out there, right? Doing miscellaneous competitions, if you will, on who's bringing the most individuals in and awarding prizes was a tactic that we took. But now I'm pleased to say that we've actually implemented a referral bonus, which is something we had not done in the history of Great America for different reasons. And so we just rolled that out this week. So I think that will help on the referral side. Um, the other thing that I'd like to mention that we've been really successful at is partnering with the local colleges. And when I say local colleges, I mean within the state of Iowa. And so, just real quick, a couple of examples. One is the local community college, Kirkwood, where we partnered with them and we're actually a part of the curriculum in their IT track.
Mm,
And so they come to us and meet with individuals at Great America to say, what are you looking for in candidates? What's important to you, right? And then each year, as they establish what the curriculum looks like, if they're going to change anything or bring a new topic into it. And we also get to participate in the education um, in that
wow.
track as well. And so what that means, we like when you think about collaborants, we're hiring between our technology evolution and collaborants help desk and the way that we're expanding there. We have a lot of positions open right now. We can't hire fast enough,
Wow.
but that has really given us an avenue to bring people in, and not only full time but part time. So while you've got individuals going to school, right? We hire them at Great America part time and able to accommodate a variation of hours so that they can earn money while they're going to school and still get some experience. So we've really, yeah, I would say in the past 4 years, 5 years, we've taken the initiative to start building stronger relationships with the colleges, right? Just like you do industry partners. You need to make sure that your company is well known in the school because you want to be one of the primary people that they're evaluating for employment when they come out, right? And so it's really building those relationships with the dean of the colleges, understanding where their expertise is at, understanding how we can participate in that. And there's a lot of different things you can do. So, one example I'll use is partnering with Iowa State University. Even though I'm a true Hawkeye, I got to give kudos to ISU, to the Cyclones. So, we partnered with them, and they've got a track specialized in sales. And so we partnered with them to understand more about what that looks like, thinking this could be an avenue, right? A strong avenue for sales folks in the Midwest that we can attract and even bringing into our headquarters, which isn't far away. And so we're involved in the curriculum there. We're going over and presenting to different classes at least once per quarter. Also going over and holding roundtables with the students, right? With the encouragement from the dean and the staff, you go over and you offer to have an informational session, like after school one night or whatever, and you buy them pizza and beverages, right? And then you just share information about Great America and you take their questions, and it's a wonderful experience. Um, I promise I'll stop after this, but one thing I wanted to tack on to that is we also hold seminars, and it started on the sales side where we would invite people that had an interest in sales or marketing to come into Great America. We started this probably 5 years ago, and we would have them sit in a full day session, of which PathShare would be a part of that, with an overview of our 9-step sales process and then getting them involved in that. Right now, we're expanding that and we're hosting credit and ASA sessions. So it's really exciting to see us expand that. And it's wonderful once the individuals come in and experience Great America firsthand, and even in the day that they're able to be here and getting a tour of our office and being able to meet several of our team members as well as leaders at Great America. It just it just really is a really positive experience for them. And we found that we've hired a number of those students that have come here, and ones that we haven't hired have been really good referral sources for us.
So, all brilliant, and I'm kind of curious about a couple of things. So, you have, I think, one of the most visible HR executives in the industry. Would you like to share and give a little prop to Sally? And I assume she's responsible for these programs.
Absolutely. So Sally Browsey is general manager of our PathShare HR services. And PathShare goes to the market and we offer sourcing, recruiting, hiring, onboarding assistance. We offer strategic planning assistance with EOS Traction, Gina Wickman's. Sally is a certified implementer. And especially through the pandemic, the number of our customers out there that have taken a strong focus on their strategic planning, right? As they think about their organization, starting with their vision and their culture, to where do they want to be when they grow up? What do they want to look like coming out of the pandemic and 4 and 5 years down the road? Sally's been very strong in engaging with multiple companies there, and it's going really well. Another area that Sally is in high demand of today is just really all learning more about the prospecting of the employees, right? In this, what we've coined the great resignation, if you will. So the prospecting, the hiring, but a strong focus on retaining as well. Where I don't think there wasn't so much of a buzz out there on really understanding, right? We got to source the right people. We've got to onboard them. We've got to woo them, bring them into the organization, and educate them and train them, right, to the great America way to be really successful. But even in our world, I don't think we put as much focus on how do we retain them long term. And
Yeah,
that's just something that HR is bringing a lot of value to the market right now.
well, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the number one problem is finding them. So probably the lower priority is how do you keep them when it should be the top priority, right?
Yep.
So
And if you keep them, you're going to spend a lot less time and money and resources, right? Sourcing them and going
absolutely.
through the interview process and onboarding. So,
Well, again, I think the programs are awesome, but what I really like about what I hear you saying is you're weaving the Great America culture right from the beginning, from the student level. So I think that's just an overall fabulous program. So, and can I ask one other question about that? Do they come
yeah,
in as interns, or or does the student just become a hire?
both. So we have a very strong intern program, but we also bring new hires in from this that haven't had the opportunity to intern.
Great. Well, keep us posted. I'd love to learn more about that as time goes on. But Great America has probably the greatest culture that I'm aware of in this industry at a broad scale level. So my hat's off to you and Tony and David and everyone. Can I assume for a minute that you're also looking at vet tech and hiring veterans, or can I sneak that commercial in?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I believe Sally is spending some time with Bob and group to evaluate how we can become more involved in that. So obviously, we have a number of vets that work at Great America, and we take pride in that. I think that we could increase that, though, when you think about the individuals that we're bringing in.
So, as we come around the corner here, a couple of quick things that I'm kind of curious about, and I think the audience might be. You've ridden in the RV with us, meaning the pack, the Patriot Pack, as we've gone across the country, raising money for the Jillian Fund, our favorite charity for children with cancer and seriously ill children and families. You personally and Kim and many of the Great America people have either gotten in the RV and ridden across the country for legs, certain legs of the trip, which we thank you for. I mean, that's part of your culture, your personal culture, and certainly Great America. But you've ridden with us across the country. I'm kind of curious if anything jumps out at you like, ooh, why did they do that? Or anything impress you about the group or the dealers that we went across the country that you'd like to share any experiences with?
Besides driving the motorhome under the overhang last time, and and taking the air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Oh
That
God.
was
Well,
not funny at the time, but as you think back at it, it was kind of funny.
it was
Just one of those
hilarious.
things that
That's
happened.
well. That's how he got his nickname. He's now known as Crash. You know.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, fun. No, in all honesty, though, it's just been a tremendous amount of fun, right, with some really, really good friends. But I would say the thing that strikes me the most really is just the care that all of you have, right? For the vets, for the Jillian Fund, for anybody that's having challenges out there wanting to give and to contribute and help. And I think it's just, I can think of many, many moments that were very emotional, right?
Yeah.
As we paused and took time to think, right? Thank the world for this wonderful world that we have. Thank God for everything that He's given us, and to thank the vets and all the wonderful people out there, whether it's medical
Or support.
or support,
Yeah.
right?
We've
Just in
we've lost
general.
some people along the way, so you're right.
Yeah. And just to see the way that as we stop at each location, the way that local people embrace you guys, right? And want to know what your cause is and what you're doing,
Yeah.
and the passion that you have when you explain that.
Well, again, Great America supported us from the beginning, and you personally, and Kim, and all the others that have joined us, we're grateful for, and you're special. The trip is not the same without you. I can tell you that. We need the rider. You're a rider, so you know. You know when you ride 3, 4,000, 5,000 miles, it's a grueling ride. So seeing a friendly face along the way is very, very helpful. So thank you. So a couple of again rounding corner subjects. As we enter this latter half of this year, what is the best advice you would want to share with either an employee or a dealer or just the industry at large? What are you thinking, and what would you say? God, you guys have to do this, and we really need to do this.
Yeah, I would just say, right, keep evolving. It's crazy we talk about the digital evolution or revolution, whatever you want to call it, right? But technology has moved forward so much in the past 2 years because we were forced to, for one thing, right? But which then that's a good thing, because it forced us to focus internally, and it forced us to realize that we have a long ways to go if we want to continue to remain relevant in the industry and the markets that we serve. And I would encourage all of our customers to continue to think that way as well, right? So keep evaluating what you want to look like when you grow up, what portions of your organization it's critical to continue to drive that innovation as it relates to technology, and then put a plan in place to make sure you're moving along. It's too easy to get caught up in the day to day and the short term challenges, and to lose focus on what the future looks like. We can't stop thinking about that. Keep dreaming,
Well,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So, Jenny, are there any other thoughts that you would want to share with the audience and the industry? And again, I'm very proud and honored that you came and joined us today. There's so many things I know that are going on. What other thoughts might you want to share with people?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me why that was my favorite Frank Sinatra song.
Well, let's end with that. Why
Okay.
is that your favorite song?
Because it is kind of a fun story that goes back to my childhood. Again, I have a lot of favorite Frank Sinatra songs, right? I think one of the most notable for somebody in my era, my age, is "Love and Marriage" with "Married with Children," right? Because we kind of grew up with that and that. But um, the story on "The Way You Look Tonight," so it kind of goes back to maybe what was ingrained in me in a young age, that that has keeping that has kept me driving forward when you think about success and what do I want to accomplish in life. But it really, I think I was 7 or 8 years old. I grew up on a farm in a large family, and every Saturday I used to go down to the neighbor's house on Saturday morning. They invited me to come down because they would pay me $2 to come spend the morning there and help. And Georgie was the wife, and help Georgie clean house, right? Well, really, she didn't give a hoot about my skills in helping her clean house. She just knew my mother needed a break from one of the children, and she enjoyed spending time with me, right? Her and Howard. And so when I went down there, I loved it because it was all about they always had the LPs playing, right, in the I'm gonna mess this up, but just the standalone record player, and they always had Frank Sinatra playing. And when this song would come on, "The Way You Look Tonight," it just always sticks in my mind. He would he would, like, glide into the I can still picture glide into the dining room and grab her and start twirling her around the dining room and dance. And in my world, my parents, it's not that we didn't demonstrate a lot of love in our family, but there wasn't a lot of dancing going on, right? Or a lot of music in the house. And so just really fond memories. So it kind of goes twofold. Maybe that work ethic started at a very young age, but also realizing the true love that's out there.
That is a great story. And it's funny, I can remember my mother and father doing the same thing. Of course, Sinatra was like bigger than the president. I mean, that he was the guy. And Tony Bennett and Dean Martin. But Frank Sinatra was the guy that my father would pull my mother anywhere, anytime, and start dancing. And of course, my mother was like, "Oh, Mike, please," right? But she loved every minute of it. So that's a great story. I like that.
Your
And
father was he's a singer, right?
he
I've
was
seen
he
video.
passed a
Yeah.
while ago, but he was a big band
Yeah.
singer, and yeah, he did all the Sinatra, and I mean I heard them all, and and they have a saying in the music world, and even JB says it, you know, he was they called it a pitch bitch. So my father was, he had like an ear like unbelievable. And so when he sang, to me, it sang like he sounded like a Sinatra-esque, right? Just perfect lyric, perfect timing, perfect sound. And then he would, finish with the song, and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, that was a great man. You killed that one." I hated it. I missed this note. I missed this note. So
He's a
there's the
perfectionist.
science of the music, and then there's the music. But I'm glad you brought that up. It's a beautiful story for you, young lady, young girl. How old are you?
I
When
was like 7, 8 at that
7, 8 years
time.
old. So that was your first
Yeah.
exposure to Frank.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anything else? Did I miss anything? That because I want to make sure that you have every opportunity to share your thoughts with the world.
Well, I still haven't thought of that best, most embarrassing moment to share, but I think that's probably okay.
Yeah, I prefer to think of you as perfect. So
Well, thank you. I'm
leave
far
the
from
leave
perfect.
the yeah, leave the embarrassing moments to Gavin and myself. We're good at it.
Mm.
So, anyway, I give you my best. My greatest appreciation for you, for what you've done for us in the past, this podcast, and then going forward. I see big changes as we come forward, and to me, they're not necessarily without some scare. There's some frightening moments that we're going to deal with. But I love your optimism. That's exactly what we want to project out there. It's not foolish optimism, it's cautious optimism, and it's smart optimism. And I want this industry just to continue to explode and grow and bring new and attract younger, more diverse type of people for sustainability and all those classic cliches, that we need to work on the next 5, 10 years. So you brought a lot to this podcast. I'm very, very grateful. Please tell Tony and David and the whole team, thank you for your
I'll
time,
do that.
and thank you for everything they do for the industry. So with that, I'm going to close out and say thanks, Jennie.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mike.
You got it.